Okay, YouTube just made a decision that is very anti-regular person, but within about 24 hours, they completely reversed it. And this is because of a key concept that everyone has heard of, but very few people really understand, and certainly very few people actually think of, and they don't realize how many areas of life it applies to. And what happened is basically, if you haven't heard, YouTube decided to unverify all the channels that are verified and make them apply again, and then they'll decide whether they're worthy of verification. And now this affected me personally because my main channel is verified, and they've had clear rules on how to become verified. Basically, you just needed 100,000 subscribers, and then you had to apply for it, and it was as simple as that. What they want to change it to is everyone like me, they're going to unverify, and if you're already verified, they will give you a chance that's complicated. You have to go to a form and you have to fill out, and the main thing they seem to be looking for is mainstream media articles mentioning you and your YouTube channel. So I probably would have actually kept my verification because I could have provided that. But for people to be verified on YouTube, what they wanted to move to basically was a system of, you don't apply for verification, we will determine who's worthy or not, which was going to be mostly corporations, think CNN, even though no one likes their videos, and Hollywood celebrities. And basically, it was very subjective. It was going from something that was very clear-cut and dry, basically, you only need 100,000 subscribers, to something that's subjective, will determine whether you're worthy. And the main thing that they said they were basically looking for is how famous you are outside of the platform, which kind of tells you what they think of their own platform. So basically it was going to be, The Rock, Will Smith, whoever. And what happened is all the YouTubers from all over the world, very large ones even, people with millions of subscribers were getting these emails saying that we're going to unverify you, and people were talking about it, people were tweeting at YouTube, and because people united and they banded together and they formed a group together to fight against something, within about 24 hours, they completely reversed the decision. Now, about being de-verified, even though it would have affected me, I wasn't too worried about it, because this site, I've been on this site since 2006, and I've seen all the changes, and I've seen how very much, especially in recent years, it's went from YouTube, where it's about regular people, and their new standard for getting verified of you had to be famous outside of YouTube to be verified. That shows you very much it's them-tube. It's not YouTube. They don't really care that much about the users, but we haven't been able to get a good alternative, and it's kind of for the same reason that we were able to get this reversed, and that's because, here's the key concept. As individuals, we really don't have a lot of power. There's really not much we can do by ourselves. We have very little power as an individual. But if you can organize, if you can group together, well, then you can do amazing things. And we could totally take Google, they're this huge, powerful corporation. But the fact of the matter is, if everyone united, or not even everyone, if you had enough people unite, within a day, they could end YouTube. If everyone would agree to migrate somewhere else like BitChute at the same time, it would totally take away their power. And now, this is something that you see a lot of people, like one of the criticisms about Jordan Peterson is that he tries to get people to move away from tribalism, to move away from groupthink. Now, obviously, he contradicts because there's another group that he praises their group, yet he tells all these other guys, hey, don't group together, be individuals. But like I said, especially if you're some kind of movement, social movement, political movement, especially a political movement, where demographics basically determine elections, if you get people to try and be individuals, nothing's going to happen. It's going to be totally weak, totally powerless. I was asked on a recent video why I said that libertarianism, it's a great idea and I agree with it in principle, but it's not very practical. Because as individuals, we really don't have any kind of power, especially if you're talking about a political or a social movement. Now, Jordan Peterson, people have gone on him for this, because he's always preaching, be an individual, avoid tribalism, while contradicting himself and praising another group. But even his own fans don't get this concept, because I just had a video talking about Jordan Peterson, and this guy said, one of Peterson's fans said, well, what do you know? Look at how many subscribers Peterson has, and look at how many you have. So obviously he's better. But all that is groupthink, because he's just following the crowd. He can't think for himself. He needs social validation by look at how many subscribers this guy has. Well, I guess I should follow him too, because a lot of other people are. That's how this Peterson fan was thinking. So even he can't get Peterson's messages, and certainly doesn't, even if it's a subconscious level where he doesn't know it, he doesn't believe in it. By the way, if that's the determining factor for who's the smartest, well, I guess Jordan Peterson is not as smart as Logan Paul, because Logan Paul has more subscribers. And this is just my second channel. I have another channel, like I said, that does have more subscribers, and I have a video that has over 220 million views. Jordan Peterson is never going to have a video that gets anywhere near that view count. Does that mean it's smarter? No, all that means is I appealed to people's primal instincts and got them to click the button, much as he does too, through topical issues and things that maybe make people angry, but that's something that's going to trigger them to click that button. It's just getting people to click buttons. It's just appealing to primal urges, whether it's something on a sexual level, whether it's something on an emotional level, especially anger. It makes them more likely to click and share a video. That's why all these news channels where people read news stories basically and give their thoughts on it are so big. But keep this in mind. There are times too where it's not always good to go towards the group. Now, because it's probably also my nature that I do like to do my own thing. I'm a bit antisocial. For me, an enjoyable evening is just staying at home. But there's times when it is good to have the attitude of, I'm going to do my own thing, I'm going to be my own man. And I'll give you an example from my own life. Instead of focusing on a team sport like football, where I would do however, because I have to depend on all the other guys on my team, how they perform. That determines whether you win or lose. I've always preferred individual sports, and I achieved very high level championships in the sport of wrestling, because what I loved about wrestling is it's just me against another guy. I totally determine my own fate, whether I win or lose. It's totally up to me. And if I would have made football my main sport, would I have won any state championships in football? Maybe. If I did, maybe one. In wrestling in high school, I won 3 state championships. And one of my friends, he was the biggest star football player in the entire state. And senior year, the state finals of the football game, it comes down to the very last play, and because he's the big star, the best running back in the entire state, it comes down to the last play, and they tried to give him the ball, but everyone knew, hey, this is the guy we got to watch out for, so they stopped him. So my high school, they took second place in the state football championships because basically they gave it to this guy everyone knew. But later on in the season, he was at the weight class below me, and I was going for my 3rd state championship, but he made it to the finals. He was going for his 1st state championship. He ended up winning, and he said, but before the match, he was nervous and stuff, and I was kind of trying to give him a pep talk, give him confidence. And one thing he said to me that I'll never forget, and this is going back to when we were 18 years old, he said, I never got to be a state champion in football, but at least I get to be a state champion in wrestling, even though being a state champion in football was really his real dream. But he was happy that he got this second chance, and now it was totally up to him. It's not a coach deciding on what play to have where it comes down to the end, and he felt the coach made the wrong decision by giving him the ball because that was the obvious decision. He got to redeem himself, and then he got all the glory. In a sport like wrestling, it's very tough because it is an individual sport. When you win, the good thing is you get all the glory. When you lose, it feels really bad because there's no one to blame but yourself. So there definitely are instances where you do want to move away from the group and go and do your own thing. And certainly my personality is more aimed at that. But one thing people like me also have to remember that are more naturally like that is No one has ever achieved success in life on their own, especially depending what industry, especially an industry like Hollywood. You got to make those connections. You got to meet the right people. Even I was watching recently a documentary on Donald Trump on TV, and he was already this rich and successful guy, but he wanted to do more, and as a result, he ended up hanging out in this nightclub every night. And this is a guy, Donald Trump, that doesn't drink any alcohol, but he was going there because he knew important people were going to be there, important contacts. So even he knew the importance. Even though he was already rich and successful at this time, he knew he needs to make better contacts. So you got to be part of that group. It can make all the difference in the world. So how do you know when you should go towards individualism versus going towards being part of a group? Well, you're just going to have to use your powers of discernment. You're going to have to be a discriminating individual. And if you can't do that, honestly, this video, this message, it's not for you, because it does take a certain thoughtfulness and intelligence level to be able to use your judgment to determine these things. It does take some nuance. And I know some people, especially if you're maybe a lower level person or just a lazy person, just try and get in with any group that's going to be in your best interests. And I remember my dad saying to me recently, the thing that people want more than freedom, this is getting a little bit more into a slightly other matter, but my dad said, the thing people want more in life than freedom is to be taken care of. That's why so many people vote the way they do. They don't really care about losing freedoms. It's more important to them if someone comes along and says, hey, don't worry, I'll take care of you. You'll have an easier life with me. So hopefully you enjoyed this message and you learned something from it. And like I said, regarding YouTube, anytime YouTube does a major misstep and hurts the website, hurts the community, ultimately maybe because I'm very optimistic by nature, I think it's a good thing, because on this website, things are going to have to get a lot worse before they get better. And then finally, we can get to that point where people decide to say en masse, hey, this isn't really that great anymore. There's something else better. Let's all move there. And people have the power, if they group together and organize, they have the power that they could do it in an instant. So these are things for you to keep in mind, to consider, and be sure to check out my other videos and then go outside and enjoy yourself in the real world, my friends.